There's no solid one sort of story. It's according to legend, it was the most predominant one. It was an Indian inventor. And he brought it to the emperor at the time that here's the game of chess that I've invented, and it's a pretty cool game. You should check it out. And so the emperor looked at it and went, "This is fantastic." And he said, "You can have anything you want as a reward for this game because this is truly a magnificent thing of what you've come up with." So the guy who was the inventor, he was a mathematical genius. So what he did, being a very clever guy, he said that I would like to have rice in such a way that the 64 frames of the chessboard will fill in such a way that there's going to be 1 grain of rice in the first one, 2 in the second, 4 in the third, 8 and so forth, so that the 64 frames are going to be filled with rice in that kind of principle. And the emperor was actually rather offended by this because he was, "Why are you being so stupid? You just want a little bit of rice, whatever. You could have had anything." So he sends the accountant to go and count the amount of rice. And surprisingly, it takes the accountant over a week to count. And when he comes back to the emperor is like, "What the hell took you so long? What's going on?" And the accountant was saying that, "Well, this is actually more than the whole of the world's produce of rice. But that's how quickly, when you keep doubling things, that the price will start to go up." During the time when I was doing the first pieces and getting ready for my first exhibition, which was going to be in 6 months' time after I finished the first art piece called The Escapist, I had studied ferociously the monetary system for a couple of years, and a lot of it had actually come from the more Occupy Wall Street type of angle, and how banks create money and how the whole of our society is run on a monetary basis. And of course, it's such a fundamental way of how human beings behave and how we interact, how we exchange and all this kind of stuff. And the more that I studied it, the more bizarre the whole thing started to look like. And then the history of printed art. In some printed art, it used to be that when you would make prints with a machine, with specific kinds of machines, then you would only have a certain amount that you could produce with this machine before the quality of the prints would go so bad that you wouldn't actually be able to pass them as art pieces. So you'd have an edition. And because the quality would vary between the prints, or then people would perceive that the number one is more valuable than the others, or however you want to see it, the price within the edition could be different. We limit the amount of prints to an edition artificially. We say we're only going to be making 8 plus 2 artist prints or something like that, and that will keep the edition limited, so that it's still a rare thing. You're not going to flood the market with a whole bunch of prints and make it worthless, or have these travesties happen, or what happened with Andy Warhol, or these kind of things. So basically, it's an artificial way of limiting something that used to be a technological problem. Now, my idea with coming from the Wall Street things, coming from the chessboard invention, coming from the idea of how it used to be in some printed art, 3 months before my first exhibition, an idea dawned on me. What if I started pricing it in such a way that, like for example, the first one to sell, which we did in collaboration with Vina, was titled The Beginning of a New Era, appropriately. And it was 10,000 euros. So only if and when the first one that now had sold, am I allowed or willing to make another one, and that will double its price. So that will be 20,000, which is now on sale. Now only if and when the second one will be sold, I will make a third one, and that will then double its price again. So that'll be 40,000. That'll be 80,000, 160,000. And here's where it starts to get very interesting very fast. The number 5 that is going to be sold for 160,000. Then how much is the number 1 worth? That was originally sold for 10,000, because we have quite a lot of tradition and customs to do with being number one. So usually in the art world, if it's the first print or the first edition, first something like that, it's considered very valuable. If you get that one, it's going to be cheap. If no other prints are going to enter the market, it's not only cheap, it's going to be unique. And this is quite a promise for me, and it's a very risky promise for me. Now, but it's also an ultimate plus for the buyer, because if you have a unique piece that is cheap, well, that's obvious why it's a good thing for you. If other prints start to come to the market, that means that your original investment has doubled its price. Doubled its price. And if someone's bought number 5 for 160,000, they felt like that was a good idea. I want to invest into this. Who knows? He might even sell number 6. Who knows? No one knows at this point how many can sell. Now, what makes this a very revolutionary idea is that usually the value of an artist's work is determined by the people who are the critics, the gallerists, the ones who hold the fairs, the powers, movers and shakers, basically. So in this pricing system, what I'm doing, I'm saying that I have something that no one else has in terms of a form of art, of how I express myself and how I put it out there. And when people ask me, so what makes you think that I would actually give you double the amount of the money that was paid for the last print? That makes no sense whatsoever. And I said, hey, listen, this is just a different way of making sure that there's a very limited edition. And secondly, because I'm the only one who does this way, unfortunately, having a kind of monopoly position on it, this is the only way you're going to get one. Plus, this is a very interesting way of starting to enjoy the art that is there, and also maybe enjoy the benefits of something that you've purchased in terms of its value, and having a kind of predictability on your investment that has never existed in the modern art market yet.